In today's episode, we're going to be checking out a guitar that's on Amazon that has a lot of promises. It's a name I've never heard of. In fact, I barely can pronounce it. But I mean, it claims to have a semi-hollow ES335 style guitar with stainless steel frets, Alnico 2 pickups, and quality components, and all for almost $350. Now, a little over that, but you get the idea. Still, pretty shocking price tag. So I went ahead and got one of these off Amazon to check it out. And before I get into that guitar, I just want to mention the sponsor, Jahn Custom Audio. Now, these are handmade pedals in Germany, and we'll be using one in the sound demonstration for some of the dirty tones besides the clean tones. Okay, so we have a Boya&Ziqi. I might be butchering it. If you know a better pronunciation, you can put the phonetics down in the comments down below, but I'm reading it as Boya&Ziqi. So this was on Amazon, and you guys were really excited about the carbon fiber guitar I found on Amazon, and also you seem to be excited about the D'Angelico semi-hollow I did. A lot of you were asking, you know, is there more affordable choices out there? And I thought, let's take a look. This guitar popped right at me when I saw the feature set. Here's the feature set. It is a mahogany neck, rosewood fretboard, bone nut, 22 stainless steel frets, 18:1 gear ratio, like Godot style tuners, a maple veneer, quilted maple veneer on a bent maple top with a bent maple back, and then two Alnico 2 vintage style humbuckers, 3-way switch, 2 volumes, 2 tones, with 2 push-pull coil splits. We have binding on the F-holes and both the front and the back of the guitar, binding on the neck, and it stops at the nut, so there's no binding on the headstock. Again, we see this a lot. No markings on the guitar, no markings with any decals or anything inside the body. But doing a little research, I found the guitars are listed as being made in China and being built the same way as Epiphones that are also made in China. So it'll be interesting to see if competition like this inspires Epiphone to add features like this guitar, stainless steel frets, bone nut, push-pull pots at a lower price point. All right, it's time to get into the geeky stuff. So taking a look right here, you're at 1.5 millimeters, which is pretty low for a guitar of this style. Okay, now this is important. As you can see right here, we have 0 relief in the neck, and it's 24 3/4. So this is a Gibson scale length. Let's go ahead and see how these frets look. All right, let's go ahead and check these frets. Okay, we have a high fret right here. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and mark that with a Sharpie so we know. And I'm leaving the strings on for a reason. I just want to check to see where this is at. High fret right there. Oh, just in that spot. Oh, over there too. So interesting. Okay, right here. That one's pretty bad. Okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 high frets. So before we take care of these frets that we decide are high, let's go ahead and do the sock test. That's where we check the fret ends. I want to do that because before I do any fret work, I don't want you to confuse what I did to the guitar versus how it came. So let's go ahead and try the side. And not bad. You can see right there, a couple little marks, but nothing to really worry about. So impressive fretwork. Let me do that one more time. Obviously, I'd say a 4.5 out of 5. And looking on the bass side, we're going to do the bass side right now. And you can see right there, a little bit more work. That's definitely not great, but it didn't tear anything or pull any snags. So we're going to say that's about a 3. Pretty good for the price point. I mean, it's good. Okay, so we got a little bit of good news here. Some of these frets, so far when I'm looking at them, they're actually lifted out of the fretboard. So this could be happening because it obviously traveled so far. Now this might sound like a big deal, but believe it or not, it happens quite often. Here's why. Let me give you a breakdown of a fret. You have the top or the crown, you have the tang, and then you have the stud, which is essentially the teeth. And what happens is when they press the fret in or hammer the fret in, sometimes when the guitar is traveling, especially across the ocean with all that moisture, keep in mind, wood is a sponge. As the wood becomes softer and the fret can lift up just a little bit. Now, if you watch watch my videos, you'll see I always use some glue to make sure the frets don't lift, especially stainless steel, because there's really no reason to ever have to refret a guitar. In the case of this guitar, there's 3 ways we can fix this problem. We can raise the action because the frets are not that high to where if we raise the action, they'll still cause dead spots. We can fix the problem, or we can return it. As I said, this was bought off Amazon and they have a pretty good return policy, maybe even exchange for one to see if the next one has this issue. But since we're in the geeky stuff, we're going to show you how to fix it. So all you have to do is tap them in. I'm going to use a fret hammer. I'm going to go right here just to show you. I'm going to hold this. I'm going to hold this down, the fretboard, against this block. This is a cradle right there. You just go ahead and that's it. Now take note, the fret hammer has a brass end, and that's how it avoids damaging the frets when tapping them in. And now you're good. Look at that. So let's go ahead and do the next one. Look at that. So now what I want to show you is what happens when you tap these frets in. We're going to take the sock test that we did before and check that. And you can see, look how that one fret is, because as we hammered this fret down, it's spread out. So it's sticking out the end. So this has to be corrected as well. Okay, so what I want to do is show you how we're going to round off a fret. And what we're going to do is take some painter's tape, like so. Okay, and we're going to use a fret and dress file. Okay, link in the description. And then we're going to take the rounded side down towards the fretboard, come at an angle like this, and just you kind of just roll it. See that? Roll it. Okay. You use a little bit. Just do that. Some might be asking right now, why did I round over the edges of the fret if all it really happened was it kind of stretched out and it just needed the burr taken off at the end? Well, because I'm taking the burr off, which was very subtle if you caught when I did that, I just wanted to go ahead and round it over. Again, as you saw, it's a very easy task, so I just showed you the whole process. So let's go ahead and take the sock and just, you can see nothing, right? So you can see perfect. Now I'll just do one of these ones over here. These were great too, but you can see it didn't cause any difference. You don't even need to really polish it. It's perfect. Let's go over a couple things. First thing to point out, you have a mahogany neck. I've already outlined the heel joint. You can see right there. What they did is they glued on a heel right here. Let's talk about the handshake. That's something we cover on this channel a lot. That's where you grab the guitar by the heel to see how it feels when you're playing the upper register, or just how it feels right there. This is pretty much standard. It feels exactly like a Gibson or Epiphone. It's a little clunky. It's not anything worse than, like I said, what the competition makes, but it's, I just want you to be aware there's nothing extra special there. Access point, there's actually a little bit of restriction. You can't really get to the last fret. So that is something that hinders you right there. You can't really do that. You have a 3-piece mahogany neck, and therefore there's no scarf joint because it's 3 pieces. And then if you look here on the side, you have a 11-degree angle right here on the headstock. So not extreme, and with the 3-ply should be very strong. And then you have essentially Grover style or Godot style tuning keys. Either way, they say they're 18-to-1. We'll test those. Okay, looking at the radius, I actually think it's closer to a 14-inch radius. So pretty flat. One nice thing to mention though is they did take some time to roll the fretboard edge. It's not extremely rolled, but it is rolled and it doesn't feel sharp on the end of your hand. Feels pretty nice. So now we're going to check the nut slot. So we'll go ahead and depress down on the 3rd fret and then see how much play. And you can see pretty good amount of play on each string. And so not too bad, but you can see just a little bit there. And again, you could cut that slot just a little bit lower to make that barred F chord feel pretty good. Looking at the width of the nut, we're at 43.28 millimeters or 1.704. And on the 12th fret, we have 2.100 or 53.35 millimeters. And the depth at the 1st fret is 22.89 millimeters or 0.901. And the 12th fret is 0.976 or 24.79 millimeters. Okay, and on the carve, they're calling this a C carve, and that looks about right. Let's take a look over here. And it's a little shallow, a little flatter on the 1st fret, but definitely the C carve. And to give you reference, I thought this would be fun. I made some wax impressions of different necks. Here's a Gibson 60s neck and a Fender Professional Stratocaster. This is, of course, is the Boya&Ziqi. So looking at these neck profiles, the 60s neck on the Gibsons kind of fits almost inside the Boya&Ziqi, where the American Strat almost fits right inside of it. The Boya&Ziqi 12th fret versus the 60s neck 12th fret, almost the same, and American Professional, again, almost the same size. So the Boya&Ziqi will feel kind of like the smaller American Fender and 60s neck from Gibson on the 12th fret, and a little bit more meat, so to speak, on the shoulders on these edges than the other necks. Okay, so I pulled off the nut to check it out to see what material it is, and we're gonna look at the bottom here. And you can see here, this is from when they painted it. So they had the nut on when they were spraying it and it sprayed underneath. First thing we're looking for when you're looking at a nut, bone will be like this, kind of yellowed and white. It'll have grain in it and it will always sound a certain way. There you go, that's bone. Where typically plastic will have either holes or some kind of way it was inject molded, and when you drop it, it sounds like this. Again, one more time. Some cheaper nuts like this will have obviously hollowed out and they will sound even worse. And this is a bone nut that I carved myself. And you can see they are the same. So that's how you can tell. Now, obviously, I took the nut off to show you guys what material it was, but a lot of you might have a question like, what happens if the nut falls off a guitar? How do you put it back on? It's a super easy process. Just make sure the area that the nut goes to is clean. Clean it all up. I just use some Titebond wood glue, put 2 dabs, kind of rub it smooth, stick it back on and restring. The glue is water soluble, so you can clean it up with a damp paper towel. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pickups. Looking at the bridge, we're reading N at 8.7 and the neck is reading at 7.9, so pretty much low output pickups. And the inductance on the bridge is at 4.64. and the neck is at 4.24. So again, this is definitely a vintage style pickup. So let's see what we can learn from the pickups besides what the readings were. And the first thing we're gonna learn is these are wax potted. So I checked that. Interesting, they actually have the name, the Boya&Ziqi name. It's this little sticker, but I know that sounds silly, but it tells you something because some companies don't even care to put anything that matters when you can't see it. So that tells you that they took some pride in the pickups, in my opinion. No insulation or shielding insulation in the cavities. Something else that's probably worth noting is sometimes, like I said, on the legs, you're gonna have long legs, short legs, and no legs. These are really, really short legs. Shouldn't be a problem if you switch because they at least routed out. That's what this is for. This was made for a pickup with long legs when you see this. So they're actually taking the time to route this out. So in case their legs are really long. Looking in the inside, the first thing we're gonna see is a 500K tone pot with a 0.22 microfarad capacitor. And then of course we have an output jack, and it's a pretty inexpensive one, but there it is. And then we have the 2 push-pull pots, which are pretty standard 500K push-pulls. One thing I don't love is you can see some electrical tape. It's not like they didn't solder, it's just you can see they're trying to stop it from touching. Using some heat shrink tubing would have looked a lot cleaner. Your 3-way switch is a mechanical 3-way switch, which is pretty good for this price point. Looking inside the body, you can see that the craftsmanship inside the body looks definitely fine for a guitar at this price point. There's no issues there. One thing I want you to take notice to on the right is it says it's a maple block in the center, and this does not look like maple. This could be mahogany or another wood, so I'm not sure what they're using, but it does not look like maple, and that would explain why it's a little lighter. One thing I worry about with guitars at this price point is how well these studs are installed. And the studs look good. There's no lifting. Sure, they're a little loose because of threading, but I mean, this is nothing. This looks pretty good. So this looks good. That I'm happy with. Whoops, that looks good. So overall, I'm happy with this for this price point. A lot of times, the biggest thing you're going to deal with is this stuff just starts pulling itself or tilting and having a problem. All right, let's look at some market comparables. First, I want to look at the Ibanez Art Core. This one is $349, and it's pretty stripped down. It's a satin finish. It doesn't have any frills. But the Gretsch, a Streamliner series at a little bit more money, not quite $100 more, is a pretty good guitar. In fact, in my experience working on them and playing them, this model will probably come out of the box ready to go with no issues or very little issues. And then, of course, there's the Epiphone ES335. And the interesting thing about the 335 is it's $700, almost twice the price, and it comes with Indian Laurel fretboard. It comes with a new bone nut, which is fine, but no coil splits and no stainless steel frets. And of course, there's a ton of other off-brand guitars that are very competitive in this price range, but this one seems to have the highest features I've seen so far. All right, so let's do some sound samples. And a couple things I want to point out is we're going to be using a Yamaha THR 30 Mark II. That's the newer model, and I have it mic'd up with an SM57. I'm going to be running it entirely clean. The reason is because I like this amp, and priced accordingly, these amp and this guitar makes sense. In other words, you know, I'm not going to use a really high-end boutique amp to demo this guitar. However, I am going to use the sponsor's pedal today, which is Jahn Custom Audio. And like I said, these are handmade in Germany, and they come with a cool little pouch, and it's called the Texas Flood SE, and it's to give you that kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan sound, kind of a rock blues sound, and I thought that'd be perfect for this guitar. So let's go through it with the clean sounds first. We'll start with the neck pickup. I think it sounds good in the room. It sounds a little full and clear, but I'm curious to see how it sounds on the recordings. I do have a room mic in there, and I mix the room mic and the mic on the amp to kind of give you the best sound of what it sounds like in the room. The interesting thing about this is it has a coil split. One of the things I like is there's dual coil splits. So you can go to bridge, and then when you go to the neck, it's because you pulled this, you're immediately into single coil. And of course, the coil split sounds pretty convincing. And of course, that's all you can ask from the coil split. It's not going to ever sound truly like a single coil. It's not going to react truly like a single coil. It's really about tricking the audience into thinking you got a single coil. Yeah, but it sounds pretty good. Tone control. Of course, does what it does, so about a quarter turn back sounds pretty warm. So if you want to use this as a jazz guitar, let's go to the middle position. Okay, just want to check them. That's nice. Okay, it blends the two. You're going to get the warmth of the neck. That middle. And what's nice is, like I said again, you can coil split either pickup. So I'm going to coil split the neck. So this is going to be a single coil in the neck and a humbucker in the bridge mixed together. So let's go over the two pickups both in single coil mode versus them in both humbucker mode. So it's nice to have that kind of options. I mean, there's a ton of options for a guitar that's basically almost $350. Let's go to the bridge. I want to go back to the neck if you don't mind. So it sounds really good. I'm going to engage the overdrive. Sounds really good on the neck pickup. Kudos to Jahn for a great pedal. Okay, let's go to that bridge. course, go back to the neck, coil split. Same thing on the bridge, coil split the bridge. So what are my final thoughts on this guitar? Where did I end on this? So overall, I have to say I'm impressed with the guitar. Of course, keep it in mind that most of that being impressed part is the price point to the feature set. In other words, if this guitar, like a lot of these guitars, starts skyrocketing on Amazon because everybody starts buying them, I'm going to tell you right now, once this starts raising up in price, I'm going to tell you that my excitement or the thing that makes me impressed by it is going to kind of diminish. At $369 plus tax and no shipping and a good return policy from Amazon, I definitely think if you're looking for something like this is definitely a guitar that if you know what you're doing or want to invest a little time in yourself to learn how to do this, you buy this guitar, you'll be fine. If you don't mind spending another $100 to $200 to fix these issues by having it taken somewhere to have somebody do it, again, you'll be fine. However, if you're a beginner looking for a guitar to take out of the box, I would not recommend this guitar. I would actually recommend some other name brand guitars that are just a little bit more, and they don't have all these features, but they definitely would be able to pull out of the box and play if that matters. On that note, I want to always thank you so much for spending some time, especially making it to the end of the video. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing or hitting the like button. They don't cost you anything, but they do huge dividends to the channel, and I appreciate it very much. Until the next time, know your gear.